Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 7 of Track Talk. Today, we're chatting with 22-year-old Steven Chen. He has 10 years of racing experience back when he was racing karts in Beijing. Moved over to Toronto, started racing some karts there, tested an F4 kart, GT4, but found his love with the high downforce radicals. He's a chemical engineering student at the University of Toronto, super smart kid, and picked up a lot of cool insight in his first year of kart racing. We hope you guys enjoyed the interview as much as we love talking to him. Welcome to Track Talk, Steven Chen.
Steven, how's it going?
I'm doing good, Jessica. Thank you for asking. And hi, everybody. It's very nice to come back in 2023. We had some very good time in 2022, and always looking for more.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about what you got up to during the winter months.
During the winter months, I did some preparation for 2023. Definitely some sim racing, some preparation, some personal training, and taking care of schoolwork, engineering students. So
Oh yeah, I actually didn't realize you were an engineering student.
yeah, it's pretty busy, but I mean, prepare for the racing definitely give me a relief from all that work. So
Yeah, you talked a little bit about your sim. How often would you say that you're using the sim?
I'm practicing it every week. Actually, I'm practicing more than I imagine. It's just and I went to Hit Motorsport to practice for a few sessions on their pro simulation, but that is kind of hard on me on the brain and all the other things. You're gonna feel dizzy for the first few sessions, but I'm still trying to get used to it. I have to take some ginger-based like pills before I get onto the machine so that I won't get lightheaded after.
Did you spin out at all in that one? Because for those who don't know, and Jessica, they have a sim rig that has full 360 degrees of motion. So if you spin out in the car, it's going to do the spins exactly as you're spinning. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is pretty hard.
Do you think that you found, like, when you were racing the radical cars, would you get lightheaded or dizzy or any sort of motion sickness?
No, so real car is like real cars, right? You are driving it, you know where it goes, but in the same rig, like the ProMotion one, like your brain will stop. You are not moving because you are looking at the screen. You are not really moving. The screen moves with you, and your brain gonna thought you are staying stationary, but actually you are moving and spinning around, and you can't even tell which direction you are in. So
Do you have a sim at home as well?
yes, I do.
What's your favorite track?
In sim, will be still CTMP for sure because that's my home track. But I did try out what we're going to have this year, the Honda Indy and Calabogie. That is very exciting.
I'm super excited to go. I know a lot of the other drivers are as well. We just announced the Honda Indy discount for the RCC as well. So we're doing, like, for anybody who isn't registered with the series, they can do the one-off race, still be able to experience what FEL Motorsports has to offer and what it's like to race in the Radical Cup Canada. So I'm really excited. I think it's going to be an incredible event. I mean, obviously there's going to be the most radicals that we've seen in Canada ever on track at the same time.
I mean, that's a pretty good deal though. And you're racing on the street of Toronto. That's gonna be a once a life experience. So
Do you have any street circuit experience at all?
I don't, but I used to watch street circuit in Macau, the Macau Grand Prix. I have friends who race over there, so that is really different. So I asked them, what does it feels like driving in Macau, driving on the street? They were saying it's so different than driving in a closed circuit. First, because you are so close to the wall, and you don't really have any redundancy for making a mistake. And the other thing is, in the street, they are all off-camber road, so you don't really have a lot of grip as you do in the closed circuit. And the road are really tight somewhere, and they're really wide somewhere. So so they were saying it's a really fun experience, but none of my friends really drove on Honda Indy, probably except Robert. Uh, nobody really drove on Honda Indy, so that's gonna be something different. But in Macau, they were saying the road is really scary.
Yeah. Did you ever see any of the big crashes that happened there? Because that's a wild track.
So actually, in last year's Macau and in GT3 class, they were having a big crash
Oh yeah.
in turn one.
Yeah, I know what I'm talking about. You saw that. Wow.
I saw that, and I saw my friend was involved in. He was driving a R8 GT3. And but when I was watching the replay, I saw him just dodge that crash, and he was very lucky.
Yeah. Wow. Is that Key?
Yes, yes, that's him.
Have you ever driven his F4 car by chance?
Yeah, I drove it before. It's like a 1.4 liter turbocharged R bars. That car feels amazing. It's a really amazing car.
So tell us how you got the how you caught the racing bug.
I was go-karting, doing some go-karting. And actually, I started from a pretty young age. I started like 12, 13, somewhere around that. Probably not as young as other rivals. There are people doing it from 6 or 7, but I caught it up, and I was doing four stroke at 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 the beginning, like Brick Junior or something like that. And so I came to Canada around 2016. So when I came here, I started to do some two-stroke, like road tax and something. Then I went into the competition over here, and I found that I was pretty good at it. And I decided to continue and maybe doing something more into auto racing to have a career. Yeah, that's basically how I jump into it. And the thing that really making myself have a lot of interest into motorsport is my parents took me to Formula One race when I was young. Like in I it was back in Shanghai, it's like 2012 or somewhere. They also had the Shanghai exhibition over there. So they took me over there and we stayed for a couple months and we watched the Formula One race. And that's the moment when I was into motorsport.
So that's where you started karting, right?
I started karting. So I started karting after I watched the Formula One race. I was say so I talked to my parents. I said, okay, that is definitely something I would like to do in my future. And they were saying, okay, go ahead, just try it. Just try it. But I never thought I can come this far. So
Steven, I'm curious about what made you choose a radical. Can you tell us a little bit about like how you got into a radical or what started you off with that?
actually, I tried out many cars, and definitely, as you guys know, I tried out the Formula 4, and I tried out the TCR, like the Audi TCR, and I don't find myself particularly good at those cars. It's just Formula cars for me is super hard to drive. You have to react quicker than the car before the car doing any rotation. You have to correct it, right? And for TCR cars, they are pretty heavy, and I find them they're not uh, as strong as I thought. They're more driving like a street cars. So, but in a radical with a high downforce and light car and relatively easier to drive compared to Formula cars, and I do find myself can can have more talent to be used, can 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 use more of my capability to figure out how to drive a radical. So that's what made me into radical world.
Mm-hmm. You just prefer that prototype style driving.
Yeah, and I prefer my head outside compared to inside of the car. So if you're coming out from karting, you will know if your head is inside the car, it's gonna feel weird. You are feeling like you're just driving a normal car, like driving on the road, and it doesn't really motivate you to into competition. But if you are driving a car with an open cockpit, it kind of brings back your memory when you are racing with your fellow karters.
When you were karting in Asia and you came over to Canada, did you notice any Like obviously in general, there's a huge cultural difference, but did you notice specific in the competition side or maybe camaraderie with the drivers, any differences on track or off track?
For sure, people drive differently in Asia and over here. It's like two kind of styles. It's more like you're driving in Quebec compared to driving in Toronto.
Like a little crazier?
Yeah, people in Asia will drive a little bit crazier compared to here, and they're actually driving in a different way. I wouldn't say it's like crazier. It's just that they are just different. So people doing competition in different way. Yeah.
Are the rules of the road a little bit different, or the rules of the like karting? Like, did you notice that there was anything when you came over to kart here in Canada? Was there anything that you had to learn?
So the rules are basically the same, but it's just how people doing their competition, how people racing against each other, uh, how how do you leave your space to your rivals, and that's something different back in Asia and compared to here. But there's been a long time I haven't raced in Asia, and I do feel I spend the most of my career over here, and I can't really remember what it's like driving in Asia, but they're driving it very differently. And plus I was driving four stroke in Asia, and when I'm here I'm driving a Rotax, I'm driving a Rock Senior, I'm driving a shifter. It's a whole lot of different level of karting. So
There's just such a big like Asian and more specifically like Chinese racing community in Canada.
yeah, that's true. So we are a really big community over here doing some track days and stuff. It's just there are so few people really into racing. It's just probably their parents think it's okay for you to have some fun, but if you are really into it, it's way too dangerous. It's just yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the nature. So
I know we talked about, sim, but is there anything mental, like coaching wise or physical training that you've been working on? I think you kind of mentioned it in the beginning, but
I did a lot of personal training throughout the winter. I found last year I do have some problem with the dehydration in the last 10 minutes. So in one or two race, I carry the water bottle and have a tube inside my mouth to drink some water during the race. And the only other person I know who's doing it, it was Alan Shaw. And uh but I do find it's pretty hard to talk in the radio when you have a tube in your mouth, and it's more sounds like a problem, the dehydration problem of myself. So I decided to have some training based on how to improve my sports performance during the dehydration, and to train my body to uh, into a better status.
what did they like? What does that mean? Like, did they have you doing more strength training so that your body retains water a little bit better? Like, what?
There are a lot to train the resistance training for sure, the cardio for sure, and some high intensity training. I think that's the most important one is to give you the feeling of dehydration during the race. And you really need to work that out to train it over and over again to make the feeling of dehydration going less.
This is one of my favorite questions to ask. If you could race in any motorsports era, what would it be and what type of series or car?
If I really going to race, I would say the V10 era of Formula One. That's the best era.
Yeah, it is.
The car sounds amazing, and they have so many technologies to use in the car.
Is there any driver out there you kind of look up to or might compare yourself with on or off track?
Honestly, I do look up into Kimi Räikkönen.
The Iceman.
Yeah, the Iceman. And to me, why he's a good driver, uh, like he's not as competitive. So So he's not as aggressive as Hamilton or Verstappen, and he's a relatively calm man in the cockpit, and he has a lot of experience for sure, but he do know how to race with other people and leave them enough room and give them an equal opportunity to race. He's not a aggressive driver. He racing his own style, and that is what I like about him. Is yeah, he's like a conservative racing in a safe manner, but still there are a lot of good action coming out from him. He's not like pushing other people out of the track or squeeze their space to gain more speed or to gain more advantages. He's more like racing in a way that really shows his skill, that he's faster than anybody else. And I do find it's a really nice way to drive, and it's supposed to be the way that how we drive. And so he's someone I look up into.
So far, you have a lot better interview skills than him too.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, this is the hot lap section. It's pretty much just rapid fire Q&A, but some answers you can dive into. So if you're ready, I'll start firing them off.
Sure, let's fire them out.
Do you prefer wet or dry races?
Wet.
Okay, yeah, best answer. Passing on the inside or outside?
Inside.
Which is most important to you, corner entry, apex, or exit?
I would say exit, because it's so important for Radical. Such a small engine, and you are gaining a lot for having a good exit.
Yeah, very momentum based.
I feel like we're getting more and more people saying the exit. I think that's
Since everyone's home track is CTMP, and that's a track where every exit is so important because it's so fast. Everyone's used to that. When you get to Honda Indy, you might be a bit more focused on the entry or apexes. You don't want to hit the walls.
That's true. I watch a lot of Honda Indy videos, and they all like entry focused, because on the exit the road is pretty bumpy and you won't have a lot of grip. I think that's the difference. I mean, for Motorsport, it's like after the T10, the last corner of the track, you are doing flat out all the way to 3. And then you are doing flat out all the way to 5, and then it's the big Mario Andretti straightaway until 8. That's like 3 sections of long straightaway. So exit definitely make a difference.
Out of turn 4, turn 2, and turn 1, what did you find was the scariest to keep your foot planted?
Turn 4 is very easy to manage to flat out. It's just you need to memorize what's the track like after that hill. Turn 2, because you are into turn 2 about 200 kilometers per hour, but after you are getting used to it, you're gonna find, okay, turn 2 is actually pretty wide, and you do have a lot of room to move your lines or to make up your mistakes. So turn 1 actually is pretty scary, because your apex is right beside the pit wall, and you need to get really close to that wall, and you don't know what's going on after that wall, because your exit is actually on the other side. So when you are into the turn 1, and also there's a little bump by the entry of the turn 1, and that is pretty scary, because you cannot lift during that bump. You have to keep your foot on the gas. It's a little bit doesn't match your intuition, because normally people have a bump, they will just lift and let the car go through. But over there, you cannot do that in the Radical. You have to keep your foot on the gas to make sure your center of gravity is on the rear wheel and the shocks are compressed so that you can make through that bump easier.
I think that exit curve of turn 1 also sucks. Like it can really unsettle the car.
You have to keep your steering wheel straight when you are using the turn 1 exit. If your steering wheel is not straight, you can potentially spin out or crash into the wall. So turn 1 is a really tricky turn to make it flat out, and I do believe that is one of the turns that really make the difference between drivers.
You've only had 1 year of experience on Motorsport, right? Last year was your first year. really consistently driving it?
Yeah, I had some experience back in 2021, but there are only some testing and practicing.
Yeah, because that level of detail and track knowledge is pretty impressive for just a year and a bit of driving.
Yeah, I had a really good teammate, Jonathan.
True. I didn't think about that. Yeah. There you go. You're getting all the 1600 knowledge.
Yeah.
Turn two used to be, I think, the scariest, and you've probably seen it on iRacing before. But before they had paved the outside and it was just grass, you're saying how turn two you have room to kind of make up for errors and stuff. You didn't have room because if you put a wheel on that grass, you were down the hill or right into the wall.
Yeah, that's a pretty
Yeah.
scary part.
I can't imagine it without that. I feel like I see enough people, we watch most of the races from up there, so you see most people go over that line at least a couple times in a race. So
On the iRacing, they are still using the old version of Motorsport, and they don't have the bridge for your reference. So especially like the turn four, I use the bridge to tell myself when to steer.
Yeah. Did Jonathan show you that one?
Yeah, Jonathan showed. But it's more like 80% I figured it out myself, and Jonathan was doing the rest of the 20%. He's a really good teammate, I have to say.
What's a bucket list track to drive?
Tracks in Europe, I would say Nürburgring for sure.
Oh yeah, the full Nordschleife.
Yeah, maybe the full ring, the south and the north. I can memorize that track. I used to do a lot of sims with Nürburgring, driving the 919 Evo.
What's a bucket list event to attend as a fan?
Formula One for sure. And I really want to try to be a fan or a spectator in WRC.
Okay, how about what's your go-to Mario Kart character of choice?
Luigi, I would say.
If you could use a Mario Kart power-up on track, what would you use?
I would say the turtle because in a radical is so hard to chase somebody because it's a spec car. So it's better to have the capability to slow other people down.
okay, so onto some more personal stuff. Who would you say is the most influential person in your life, or the most supportive when it comes to like your racing?
There are a lot of people supporting me and having a great influence to me, but I would say the most will be my parents. I would like to thank you. Uh, I will I would really like to thank them for keep supporting me and with no conditions, and they could always understand me, motivate me, and support me and have my back.
So how did you develop confidence throughout the season last year? If you want to talk to us about like from the first event that you did to the last event.
I really race very differently compared to the first race. I think I do develop my own way of how to race radicals, because when I was into the first race, I was still driving like go-karting, and then I found out it's not going to work like that way. And I did learn from rivals and from my teammates, and I developed my skills throughout the season. And the season finale definitely are much different compared to my first race.
Okay, just to go off of that a little bit, what would you say was something that you were able to take out of karting and apply to racing in a radical? And what is, on the other hand of that, what is something that was just completely different that you didn't expect?
If you're driving car like go-karts, you are moving around and you are kind of sliding your rear end because go-kart doesn't have differentials. So you have to do it in that way to move your rear end and rotating all the way. So, but you cannot really do that in a radical. Probably a little bit, but never do the same rotation as a go-kart. So I would say they are very different, but you do get a feeling of how to control the car and how the car rotate and how to go through all the corners, and you feel the weight transfer.
So what would you say that you're looking the most forward to in the 2023 season?
Podium for sure, and Jay Colden, Mark Wade, and Kenny, I'm here to beat you up.
Let's go. I love the comments.
Definitely, I will try for champion, but Kenny is fast and Jake was a former champion, and it will be challenging for sure.
Mhm.
But the podium will be my first move, and I will try to fight for the point championship for the year.
What would you say is your, your ideal next step to move forward after the radicals?
I think it all depends. I was thinking about GT4 maybe. Some more GT cars, a close cockpit. But if I can, I would like to jump onto the Le Mans prototypes, just like what Jonathan have done.
Do you have any aspirations to race pro in Asia? Maybe like the GT World Challenge there or Super GT?
Yeah, I was thinking about it, but it could be potentially pretty hard because I probably gonna stay in North America for the rest of my life. So, and I do thought about going to Europe to have some race competition over there are really high and people are highly skilled, and it's just racing in Asia. Probably Macau Grand Prix will be fine.
Anything in your life going on in your life that you'd like to share, promote, or anybody you want to shout out before we close it down?
I do use Instagram, and I do have my new website still in construction, but will be ready soon. The website will be stevenchenmotorsport.com. My Instagram, just search Steven Chen, and it will be on there. So it's gonna be the Y Chen / Steven.
Well, we're gonna let you go.
Thank you guys for the time.
Thank you more, Steven.
We'll see you in May.
Still going bad on you anyway. Whoa, 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 whoa. I can feel like 80 rats in my Marys. Me and Drizzy back to back is getting scary.